On today's episode of the Rebrand Review, we're talking about churches. I'm Tony Hardy, founder and director of Canny Creative.
I'm Glen, brand designer here at Canny.
And today we're talking about Hackney Church in London. This is actually, randomly, I thought about this before and I should have told you off camera, but here we go. This isn't actually a rebrand as such, I think. This is a church in London that's had an exciting branding project, and to be honest, it's just too good not to feature on the show. So, Hackney Church, what is it? What are they up to?
So, Hackney Church in London has had a massive restoration on the building, and with that, they've rolled out a totally new brand as well.
And it looks great. It is super simple, but I think there's reasoning for it. And as you can see in the logo, it does look
really nice,
tip top.
Yeah.
So they've got orange on black. Again, this is a pretty bold colour statement for a church. I feel like it's you wouldn't normally see that.
No, and I think the window itself, obviously, this is pretty self-explanatory in terms of the cross and the window. Yeah. I think when you actually look into it, I would have loved them to do a little bit more with the window, because the window has a lot of elements to it, and obviously with
so this is based on a real window within the church.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think if they could have done a lot more with it, but there is sort of reasoning behind it when you look through the project.
So the reason they've kept this quite simple is they've got a number of different elements that they have to work with. So they've got the symbol itself, and then they've got a different adapted symbol for brewery, bakery, bees, and lighthouse. Yeah. So there's some things going on within the Hackney Church rebrand, and it's clear to see why they've used this strong window outline, but it's very simple, it's very attractive, and honestly, I think it does a job great.
Yeah, really nice.
So, moving through typography, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I mean, the main thing you end up seeing when you run through this is this lovely shaped serif font mixed with a sans serif, and it's in the shape of a window, and then these two typefaces mixed together, I think just work really nicely.
Yes, so essentially what they've got is a slogan for the people of East London, bending around the arc of what is also the logo, which is a window on the church, and then they blend in that serif, and it's so really unique and so nice. So I think there's also some tote bags and some other branded collateral, which matches, honestly, just how great that renovation project is, and the rebrand of the church itself stacks up.
Yeah.
And honestly, check the project out. It is fantastic looking.
So along with the main brand, they have some sub-brands. So they've got the brewery, and they have like a lot of community groups and elements like that. And what they've done is extend the brand throughout. So this typography has been used in a nice way, where they've got a bolder typeface for the kids, and more fun looking. And they've brought in these lovely illustration styles.
So they've adapted their illustrations. They've kind of introduced a range of well-designed characters, and then the way they've rolled the characters through the brand is they've got a style that was probably more applicable to adults, more 2D kind of flat, the sort of cartoons we grew up with. Yeah. And then they've got this kids style, which is bright, bold, and colourful. They use 3D renders of the illustrations, and probably more symbolic. I don't know if symbolic's the word, but more relevant to kids of today and the sort of TV programs they grew up with.
And I think this shows how flexible this brand is as well. It can go from being the church look and what you would class as the more basic church look, and then with the orange and the sort of white and black, and then they've brought these nice colours through as well, in like sort of the more kids colours, the greens, the blues, and they've experimented with the type to make sure that it fits that target audience.
I think a church is always going to be a really difficult branding project, because essentially they have such a wide demographic that when you profile for a branding project and you're working out who your users or your customers or visitors are, you can normally pinpoint 2 or 3 avatars. Religion plays a massive part in a lot of people's lives. I think they have to cast the net so wide, so that I kind of guess they've had 2 avatars: adults who visit the church and kids who visit the church. And honestly, they've done a really bang-up job of getting that branding right. In summary,
yeah, so really solid this is. It's lovely. Like, it's a simplistic logo, But the idea is, as you move through the brand, you can see why it's been kept simplistic
Yeah.
and be able to have that flexibility to move throughout the brand.
Typography is really good. The application of it throughout the brand is excellent.
So the extension of the brand in these sub-brands is where it really excels. It's fully flexible. You've got these nice illustrations from 3D to 2D, and it works really well.
And honestly, overall, it is probably one of my favourite branding projects I've seen this year, for sure. Definitely up there. So for me, thinking and concept, the way they've split that audience, the way they've kind of created two visual languages within one identity, they've used the church window shape for all it is simple. Honestly, conceptually, thinking-wise, it's definitely a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, so the brand mark, we've noted this down as a 3. This is purely because it is simple. I think when you actually move it through the brand, you can see why they've kept it simple, but I feel like they could have done more with the actual window that it's based on.
I think for me, it's the ratio of the symbol to the typography. I think if they just scaled that slightly, it probably... I feel harsh giving it a 3, but it is a 3.
Yeah.
Visual application, without doubt, excellent. 5 out of 5.
So the typography, we love this. Like the combination of sans serif and serif works really well, and how they've bent it around the window and how that is used throughout the brand. So we've gave that a 5.
And then the colour palette, we've dropped this to a 4 only because I feel like maybe it could have been bolder in some places. However, 4 out of 5, it is excellent. Grand total for Hackney Church in London is 4.4 out of 5. To date, I think this is probably the highest score on Rebrand on the Rebrand review. But that's all we've got to say on the matter. Like, comment, subscribe below, and we'll see you next time on Rebrand Review.